You can hear the chants all across the Delaware River because that is where we are, on the banks of the mighty Delaware, chanting USA, USA. For country, USA just upending Iran to move out of the group stage and into the round of 16 in the 2022 World Cup from Qatar. Didn't imagine that this is how we would open the show. Alex Monahan, co-founder of OddsJam, who's joining us today, but you came on and you were like, is it over yet? What's the score? So there you go. The U.S. now an opportunity to go into the round of 16. Welcome to Market Movers. We're super excited to have you today. What's going on, my man?
No, I'm excited to be here. And I guess glad the USA got the win in those 2.5 minutes where we had to sweat it out. So.
Suffer, right? Isn't that what they say in soccer? You have to do a lot of suffering in soccer. And that's what it felt like, at least the last 30 minutes or so. We have Alex here today because we are super excited to announce at Sporttrade that OddsJam and Sporttrade are collaborating on getting our odds onto the site. So they are now available on OddsJam. When you go to OddsJam, you're going to see all those Sporttrade prices. And because we are who we are, we're an exchange. We don't charge the juice. We don't charge the VIG. These prices are going to be popping up all the time on OddsJam's site. So let me ask you, Alex, and then I want to backtrack and kind of start from the beginning because I think your path is super interesting. Because we're an exchange, as I mentioned, Sporttrade going to have a lot of the really good pricing available on OddsJam to be able to see that. How do you expect OddsJam users to leverage that information on Sporttrade?
Yeah, totally. So we have, sorry, I'm hearing a bit of a reverb, but I was going to say, obviously people who hit the OddsJam website, they're a lot of times very different backgrounds. Some people just line shop on our site. So a lot of people, they don't even know what books exist. I mean, to someone who lives and breathes it, I can probably name off the 20 books in New Jersey. But as you can imagine, most most people in New Jersey want to bet on the NBA tonight and they're a little more sophisticated and they want to line shop or just see what odds are out there. They may not even know, Sporttrade's available as well as some of these other books. So kind of just given the fact that Sporttrade has more, competitive prices than all the sports books, it will, hopefully get a lot of people in New Jersey as well as coming states to sign up and register. And then on OddsJam, we're all about, kind of trying to be data driven bettors, traders, whatever you want to call it. So hopefully, as well, there's a lot of opportunities that users have to place wagers on Sport Trade that kind of get them their desired outcome, whether that's hedging, live betting, whatever it is.
I loved something you tweeted earlier today. I'm going to pull it up because you were doing, as you say, going hunting, right, for the best deals around. And you started your tweet
100%.
with this. You said sports betting is like day trading. Explain
Totally.
that for our audience.
Yeah. So I mean, I used to be a trader, and I think you know, you realize really quickly as a trader that, things can move pretty quick. And it's no different in sports betting. Like I think a lot of new sports bettors, they're used to just kind of hearing like, I bet, the Lakers spread. But if you bet that when the line first opens versus when the line closes versus whatever, like the market could be completely different. You think about the NFL, these lines are always ticking around, weather changes, lineups change, sharp action comes in, syndicate action comes in, tons of reasons. And all these things in each game are very correlated. Like, the weather changes, not only the total that has to move, it's the money lines, maybe the team with the better, rushing offense. Like all these things are so interconnected. And I don't think most people realize that. So when they start betting on sports, they start to realize really quickly how dynamic this market is. And it really is day trading. These lines can move, they move quick. Lines are always on the move. And, you have to follow the lines if you want to be a great sports bettor.
It's a great way of looking at it, right? And it's obviously a great deal of what we have targeted here at Sport Trade to get people to sort of adopt that mindset as well. I do want to go backwards. You have a really interesting backstory, as I mentioned. You're a young guy, co-founder of OddsJam. We ourselves at Sport Trade have a very young CEO, Alex Kane, and I'm just fascinated by origin stories, right? So you were a quantitative trader at Susquehanna on Wall Street, and then you jump from trading to betting. So take me through sort of how that all happened.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of lived on the Pennsylvania, New Jersey border. So I never really expected that I'd be living in Pennsylvania. But I mean, I loved SIG so much. Kind of when I interned there, kind of what they preached, and it really resonated with me as someone who's, really into numbers and gambling. So
not a bad intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I took a job there, and then, it's like next thing you know, sports betting was legalizing in New Jersey. Then it was Pennsylvania, I think was the second state or maybe third. So I'd like drive across the border after work, I'd look at New Jersey books. And then once it legalized in Pennsylvania, I'd be betting in Pennsylvania. And I mean, I just started to like get home from work. I'd gamble all day at work, and then I'd search around the books, and I'd gamble all day at home. I'd gamble all the weekends. I just gambled 24/7 kind of, and really got immersed in sports betting and realized how similar they were. And I'd say just given, the fact that I was working at a trading firm, like most of these people were gambling as well. So like sports betting was something that, people love to talk about. Like
so,
probably
sorry,
most
let me just jump in real quick. So you're gambling 24/7. You said everyone at work is gambling all the time. What is it that what are you betting on at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday?
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean I meant like I was
you
a
meant
trader.
trading.
So
yeah.
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
So I was like,
Yeah.
I'd go into work and I'd, gamble in the stock market.
Sure.
Not actually, you get the point. And then I'd
Yeah.
go home and I'd gamble in sports betting markets, and kind of, they're very similar. They're basically identical. The same skill sets apply, a lot of the same formulas, the same math, the same logic, the same reasoning. And kind of just fell in love with trading. I absolutely loved my job, and then I loved it so much I'd just go home and do it all in sports betting. So pretty good life, I guess.
If you were to draw the Venn diagram between the two, it seems like there's a ton in the middle.
There's a ton in the middle. I mean, I'd say sports betting I liked more because sports is pretty fun, but also it's open 24/7. I mean, sports betting, these lines are always on the move. I've caught some amazing bets at 2 a.m., 2 p.m., whatever, right? Like weekends, sports betting lines are on the move, markets closed. So they're pretty similar, but very different in some ways as well.
So you start OddsJam. Was the goal initially to create the odds comparison site to help bettors find the best price, I imagine, because of a want, right, to find an efficiency, a want to find the best price. How difficult is it to do that? One, to get the feeds. Two, and then at what point are the books saying like, oh, well, hold on, what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, we kind of started the company just looking at Odds Checker and kind of just how many books were entering the US and also the markets, how many markets were being pushed. It wasn't just money line spreads totals. I mean, even early days on FanDuel, you see how hard they were pushing player props. It's like there's going to be a site where people want to browse odds for first baskets, nerfies, stuff like that. And like, I think the initial goal was to win that. And we didn't know if we were going to be solely an affiliate company, a subscription company. And we kind of let that, let the cards get dealt to us that way. And I'd say, kind of starting the company, we got a lot of inspiration from Odds Checker. We got a lot of inspiration from a lot of the big companies you kind of expect in the industry. And then kind of carved out our own niche and grew a lot quicker than we maybe expected. And we're pretty happy. So just kind of ended up plugging along, chugging along, and that's where we are today. So, yeah.
It's obviously blown up, and like I mentioned at the top of the show here, where we're really excited to be able to partner with you guys and have Sportrade's odds on OddsJam. So basically finding the best price, right, is what you have built this site on, built your business on, and there are hours long video on your on your site detailing why that is the best way to elongate your runway as a sports bettor. So how do you feel about exchanges in the marketplace?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think exchanges make a lot of sense, in general. I don't obviously fully understand the legal landscape of any of this stuff. I bet on them all. When I'm in New Jersey, I'll for sure be betting on Sportrade. I bet on Prize Picks. I mean, these DFS companies. So I'm not sure really about the regulatory kind of that whole aspect, but I completely think like peer-to-peer betting, lower juice, lower vig, kind of, it just makes complete sense. I mean, you look at the Betfair exchange in Europe as kind of an example and just how tight their prices are. And then, already seeing it kind of in New Jersey with Sportrade is pretty incredible. And, hopefully continued success to all these platforms because, especially the more sophisticated bettors, they want lower juice, right? They're trying to get more action as well. They want that. So I totally think exchanges are a great idea and hopefully something that flourish in the US and every state.
And not only peer-to-peer, on Sportrade, we have industrial grade liquidity providers who are quoting tight markets and also providing the liquidity so the exchange can exist and there are no delays or anything like that. And it's basically frictionless. And we're looking forward to collaborating on a video with you guys that'll be up on your YouTube page. We're actually going to live trade some NBA tonight. Well, tape live trade NBA tonight that people will be able to watch a little bit later. So really excited about that. A lot of tools on OJ, right? Arbitrage calculator, ways to find positive EV bets. They are different. Now, I think, Alex, our audience is either sharp, right? Because we don't limit bettors, so they already know the stuff, or just financially savvy folks who may be new to the sports betting space. So can you explain positive EV bets and why it's a pathway to long-term profitability?
Yeah. So I'd say, you probably look at Sportrade, any sports book, Prize Picks, any fantasy company. There's kind of just, like there's this very high level. It maybe doesn't seem like there's that much data in the market, but kind of when you click in and you see the amount of props offered, we're updating millions of odds kind of every second. So there's just too much data that, and again, this market's moving, that really the way you're going to be a great sports bettor or a great trader in general is you're going to need tools because there's too much data. Like you can't just manually search through DraftKings and then have 10 other sports books open and manually compare all these lines and look for value. So kind of every tool we have, whether it's positive EV, whether it's our screen, whether it's our low holds tool, whatever it is, the whole goal is to make this data more actionable for sports bettors, which I'd say is something that, people think about a lot is there's so much out there. What should I bet on? What bets are interesting? What bets maybe actually have an edge and I can actually get the advantage? And maybe there's 0 available in your state. Maybe there's 5, maybe there's 10. It depends on the time of day, how many sports are going on. But all of our tools are ideally just designed to, help sports bettors kind of seek out value and and kind of make sense of all the data. So the positive EV tool is pretty simple. It just kind of scans the entire market and looks for spots with value. And we have sports bettors who, implement their own strategies, but also just people who look at it as a sense of like, okay, sports books generally charge a 4 to 5% vig. Where are some spots that maybe I can beat the vig, I can beat the juice, and get a great line on a bet that I wouldn't have been able to find manually if I were just like searching around the books. So I'd say kind of all the tools are just designed to do that, just show users these spots with value.
Easy for a quantitative trader, but still easy enough for someone like me who has a communications major, presumably to figure it all out.
Yeah, totally. It's just like, there's 100 sports books. You got Sport Trade, you got these DFS companies. It's kind of like, okay, let's say everyone's setting Luka's point total at 28 half, FanDuel's at 30 half. Like, I want to know that, and maybe I'll bet it, maybe I won't, maybe I'll middle it. I mean, there's tons of different things you can do, but maybe I bet the over 28 half, then I'll hit the under 30 half. People have different strategies, different risk tolerances, but I want to know that opportunity exists because FanDuel is a discrepancy. They're 2 points higher than the rest of the market, and I want to know that as like a sharp bettor, smart bettor, profitable bettor, or just someone more value oriented.
And just FYI, props not yet available on Sport Trade, but they are coming. They are on the roadmap. I can guarantee you props. You will be able to trade props, hopefully in the very near future. And that's going to be an absolute game changer for the platform. If you haven't tried it already, absolutely go download Sport Trade right now if you live in New Jersey. And even if you don't, you can use it as a price comparison tool, right? As you could go on OddsJam, obviously, and see them as well. But if you want to compare and contrast for yourself, another option for you there. There are so many differing opinions, too, when we talk about, hashtag gambling Twitter, right, Alex? And a lot of people have built careers, personas, if you will, on a couple things, which could be historical trends. They could be modeling as well. And if you just take a cursory glance at OddsJam in your site, it doesn't seem like you believe in those. So can you explain that for us?
No, I mean, kind of the point is a lot of people, they love to, I always say overcomplicate things, but it's just kind of like, I think people do this in everything, whether it's the financial world, whether it's their strategy for saving up for retirement. People love to like overcomplicate really simple concepts. And in general, the point is, these trends, all of that should be incorporated into the market, right? NFL money lines know that Tom Brady got divorced. Like, that the rest of the world knows that. That's priced in.
So that's not an angle. You're telling me that wasn't an angle when I traded on the Bucks?
Yeah. But I think a lot of people, it's like, oh, like Kyrie, like he cashed this over in 4 out of the last 5 games, like whatever. It's like, okay, but like he was playing different opponents,
Right.
maybe KD was out. It's like there's all these different things that go into it. That kind of historical data in general is just not that valuable. I mean, it's real-time market data. It's real-time odds that kind of are valuable. It's like looking at the price of Amazon 6 months ago and trying to get some, thoughts on what's happening tomorrow. It just doesn't make sense. At least from someone who has a financial background, kind of living in the trading world, you just don't do it. In sports betting, it's the exact same thing. Like, you just don't do it.
So I wonder why it is. Is it just because it's easier? Is it more palatable, easier to digest as a sports bettor to say, hey, this team is whatever against the spread. This team has hit the over 5 in a row. It's easy. It's like an easy bake oven. You look at it, you say, oh, cool. And then you just kind of blindly go do it.
Yeah, I also think it is like, what's the media going to promote, and by that, I mean, obviously Sport Trade doesn't, have the incentive to like make money off a customer, or like you want people to, like, you make money if people bet, right? But you don't have the incentive to like get people betting parlays. And part of it is just the sports betting industry is like, most of the media, a lot of it comes from sports books themselves, and like they're not going to promote in general things to help people make money off them,
right?
Like their competition with the user. So what you see a lot of times is like these big parlay wins and like talk about trends, but like it's all kind of like fluff. It's not actually how you make money sports betting, or that wouldn't be what they're talking about, right? In the same way, the most basic principle in sports betting is have multiple sports books, line shop, price compare. you're never going to see a sports book telling you to price compare. You're never going to hear, any sports book telling you you should sign up for a couple more, so you can line shop against them.
I mean, along those lines, I think this is a really interesting and key thing that I think people who are new to sports betting would be really shocked by. And that is people who approach the entire industry in the way that you do, Alex. And again, we're joined by Alex Monahan, co-founder of OddsJam, who we just partnered with today at Sporttrade. So we're very excited. If you go to OddsJam, you can see Sporttrade pricing on their best line because, again, we don't charge the juice or the vig. When you're betting in this manner, I think people would be surprised, Alex, that the actual bet doesn't really matter, right? And by that, I mean, a lot of people approach this and say, well, I want to bet on the Sixers tonight. I think the Sixers could win tonight. But the way you approach it, and people who are similar in their approach, it's almost like you're just solving for a math equation. And you feel like you have the answer to the equation regardless of what the actual market is. Is that accurate?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'd say I'd prefer to have some bets on Monday Night Football if I'm going to be watching the game, but
Right.
like,
Yeah.
if the value's in some random freaking college basketball game starting at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, these two no-name schools can't even get a feed to, yeah, I'll bet on it. I mean, if the value's there, the price justifies the bet, and I have high confidence in the bet. I mean, the amazing thing about sports betting, especially in the U.S., and especially with OddsJam, right, is we have hundreds of sportsbooks odds. We have Sporttrades plus 99 others. Is you can look at lines across the entire market and get pretty high confidence that, yeah, if there's 99 sportsbooks pricing this at minus 150 and I can pick it up at minus 110, sure, this play could still lose, but I'm very confident because I have 99 other data points disagreeing with this one data point where I'm placing my bet that my play has an edge that beats the vig, beats the juice, and will allow me to win long term.
Well, it's a volume game too.
Totally.
Yeah.
I place. Yeah. I mean, I probably. Yeah. I don't even.
On an average day, it's just you, me, and a couple hundred folks watching. I mean, how many would you say a day?
I'm coming up on probably close to $50 million bet since I started betting, and it's not like it's just slowly but surely, and I'm placing bets every single day. Usually on a day, especially if I'm betting. I mean, now I have other things to do aside from just sit on OddsJam and place bets. But I mean, when I get home from work, when I was working at Susquehanna on a Saturday or something, I'd end up with like 70 grand bet by the end of the day.
Wow.
Just watch it work out. And it was a lot of fun. Totally.
It sounds like it. What's next for the site? I mean, what improvements are coming to OddsJam?
Yeah. We obviously, we want to do a good job at explaining our product to different types of people. And also just making sure we have all the markets people want, right? Like people want to bet and they want to look at futures. We want to make sure we have good coverage. We have good coverage of that. People are confused with how to use the tools. We want to make sure they have valuable resources to understand it. Kind of useful guides, useful content, as well as useful software, because I know when I started out betting on sports, it was very hard. It was very confusing. And even someone who came from, a quantitative background, who is very excited and motivated to learn sports betting, so a lot of this stuff is very confusing at first. What is this promo? What is an odds boost? What's a risk-free bet? Why should I get multiple sports books? None of this stuff is intuitive to a new sports bettor.
That's a great point. And I think that's why at Sporttrade we use implied probability, which is just 0 to 100. If you were to approach somebody and say, what's minus 165? I mean, how many people would actually know that? I mean, I'm literally looking it up right now. Minus 165 in Sporttrade terms is about 61.5, and that's including our 2% commission. But isn't it much easier to say, hey, there's a 61.5% chance that the Warriors are going to beat the Mavs tonight? To me, totally. It just feels much more intuitive.
Totally. Yeah, totally. And I think, for us, it's like, we also want to do a good job with international customers, especially with Canada legalizing, and just kind of, we've started to gain a bit more traction in Europe. It's just making sure our products are relevant to those people, horse racing, kind of making sure we have the full suite of things people want to bet on and tools that people feel like help provide them value when they're placing bets on Sporttrade as well as other operators.
We take responsible gaming serious at Sporttrade. I'm not going to say others don't, but I will say we take it perhaps more serious than others. And we have a bunch of tools to ensure that people can either cool off, can limit themselves, can self-ban if they feel like they have to. You mentioned earlier, people planning for retirement. That's fool's gold, right? People getting into sports betting and saying, I'm going to make so much money that this can be, for the most part, a primary income. You obviously have professional sports bettors who do very well. But for like the regular Joe, right, the regular folk, why is that fool's gold?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, like when we started OddsJam or whatever, like I totally just like there's definitely a passion aspect. So I don't say this to sound rude to anyone who wants to do this professionally, but like if someone's very quantitative and they're very technical, they would make a ton more money in the financial industry or the tech industry. And the biggest reason is these bookmakers, you're always at war with them.
Yeah.
Because not on an exchange, but like you can always get cut off, and like there's betting limits and there's all these different things. Sports books can leave, they can go out of business. I mean, you're kind of relying on this edge sticking around. When realistically, like that just may not be the case, or maybe you can go from betting $400 a pop to 40 on some books and whatever. Like you get the point. Is it just kind of is something that, I mean, it's just something that I would view as you can do it professionally and you can probably make a good living, but it's also it would be at least scary to me. Constantly at war with these books and trying to get new accounts and whatever, I don't know. And but if you love it, I mean, there definitely are people who do it full time, but it's by far, not an attractive profession. If you're really quantitative and mathematical, go work in finance. You're going to make more money. Go work in engineering. That's why nobody, no rich people want to become professional sports bettors.
How many books limit you?
I've probably been limited by nearly all of them. Yeah.
You have to take your shoes off to count, I guess, at this point.
What?
So you'd have to take your shoes off to count, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, I would. I mean, it's crazy too, because I mean, this like just with regulations and stuff, it's like you get limited by a book and then you go to a different state. Like when I was in Pennsylvania, you open up an account, got limited, and then it's like ended up moving to Arizona, back home to Virginia for a bit. You got to get that same account twice. Like this stuff doesn't transfer over aside from FanDuel. The whole market is very, very interesting as well. So been limited by BetMGM themselves probably 10 times.
Well, that won't happen here. We don't limit traders on sport trade. So next time you're in Virginia, next time you're in Pennsylvania, come cross the bridge, come hang out with us at Sport Trade HQ. We can spend an afternoon trading.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Alex, we really appreciate it. I'll put up the graphic one more time. Sport Trade now available on OddsJam. You'll be able to see our pricing on their page, and I have a hunch that you're going to be seeing a lot of Sport Trade S's on that page. Alex Monahan joining us, of course, the co-founder at OddsJam. We really appreciate your time, my man, and have a great rest of the day.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks so much, Dan.
All right. Hey, that is Market Movers. On a Tuesday tomorrow, we are previewing the Hero Challenge with Amanda Rose, our Sport Trade golf expert. Make sure you don't miss it. Of course, Tiger Woods had to drop out after we booked Amanda. Of course he did. But plenty more to discuss, and we will do so because you will be able to trade on the Hero World Challenge on Sport Trade. We're back with you tomorrow, 4 o'clock, same time, same place.